New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is the kind of place that feels like a movie set, even when it's real. It's haunted, it's romantic, it's chaotic, and it smells like powdered sugar and bad decisions. And believe it or not, New Orleans might be one of the most important cities in Disney history. Not because Walt Disney lived here, not because Mickey Mouse was born here, but because New Orleans gave Disney something priceless. An atmosphere, a vibe, a mood, a whole flavor of storytelling. And today, we're going to prove it. First up on this journey, Jackson Square, which would inspire what Walt would later call the heart of Disneyland.
Over here at Jackson Square, this was the inspiration for the current hub at Disneyland. Walt visited the area several times, would later inspire the current hub you see today. So right behind me is the St. Louis Cathedral, and this is what inspired Haunted Mansion for the way that Haunted Mansion looks today. Walt thought it basically gave it the okay that it could be spooky and spiritual inside while having a clean presence on the outside.
Up next is my favorite part of the entire trip, and that's grabbing a special sweet treat from the original Café du Monde, which inspired Disney to create their own version of the beignet. Although these aren't Mickey shaped, but you can still see the powder on the floor just like you can in New Orleans Square. Because New Orleans doesn't just have history. New Orleans has pirate history. The Gulf Coast was full of legends about smugglers and criminals. And one of the most famous names tied to Louisiana was Jean Lafitte. Lafitte was a pirate, privateer, smuggler, and stories like his helped shape the mythology of the region. Walt Disney was obsessed with pirates. Not the realistic kind, the romantic kind. The kind from storybooks. The kind that made danger feel fun. And when Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean was being developed, that Louisiana pirate folklore fit perfectly. Even today, you can still feel the New Orleans in Pirates of the Caribbean. The humid air, the dark water, the lanterns, the sense that you're floating into some forgotten world. It's not just a pirate ride. It's a pirate ride soaked in the spirit of the Gulf Coast. And it's not coincidence that the entrance sits inside New Orleans Square, because pirates belong in New Orleans.
So the area right behind me is called Pirate Alley, and it helped shape for the architecture for Pirates of the Caribbean, mainly inside of Pirates of the Caribbean, and the area around Blue Bayou, which is basically inside Pirates of the Caribbean. So if you see right over here, this reminds me a lot of the gift shop that's right outside, like Club 33, Blue Bayou, that little area right over there. So I think Disney did a really good job of capturing the spirit of New Orleans, specifically for that, to what you see over by Pirates of the Caribbean. Right behind me is Royal Street. The architecture is what helped inspire the rest of New Orleans Square and Disneyland. So if you notice the iron rod fence in the fire-lit lamppost, that's something similar that you would be seeing in New Orleans Square today.
And then there's the other side of New Orleans, the haunted side. New Orleans has been called one of the most haunted cities in America. It's known for ghost stories, voodoo, legends, above-ground cemeteries, and old buildings where people swear the walls still remember everything that happened inside them. Walt Disney was fascinated by spooky storytelling. Not horror, but spooky fun. The kind of creepy that makes you laugh. And while the Haunted Mansion didn't open until after Walt passed away, the DNA of New Orleans is all over it. The mansion itself looks like something you could imagine sitting near the French Quarter. Big, elegant, mysterious. And the entire concept of haunted folklore being part of a place's identity. That's New Orleans to the core. Walt didn't just want Disneyland to have thrills. He wanted it to have mystery. And New Orleans practically invented the idea of mystery as tourism. Another huge inspiration was the environment itself. New Orleans isn't just buildings and music. It's water, swamps, bayous, fog. It's the living backdrop that makes the park feel like a real world. New Orleans taught Walt that atmosphere matters. That you can create emotion just by setting the stage right. Sometimes the most powerful ride is just standing somewhere and feeling like you've been transported. You can't talk about New Orleans without talking about the food. Because New Orleans doesn't just inspire you visually, New Orleans inspires you emotionally, and mostly through your stomach. Walt Disney understood something that theme parks now depend on. Food is not just food. Food is a part of the story. And New Orleans has one of the strongest food identities in America. Gumbo, jambalaya, beignets, coffee. And today, Disneyland's New Orleans Square is basically the official headquarters of I came here for one snack and now I'm spending $47. Blue Bayou, mint juleps, beignets. That food isn't random, it's a part of the immersion. It makes you feel like you're in a real place. That's the New Orleans influence. Because in New Orleans, food is culture. And Walt wanted Disneyland to have culture. Because deep down, New Orleans Square isn't just themed to New Orleans, it's themed to the way Walt Disney felt when he experienced it. And honestly, that might be the most Disney thing of all. Now here's where New Orleans gets even more important, because it connects directly to one of the most revolutionary inventions in Disney history. AAs, or audio animatronics.
Audio animatronics?
Right, audio animatronics.
Most people assume animatronics were invented after Disneyland opened, just because Walt wanted more realistic rides. But the truth is, the seed was planted years earlier, and it happened in New Orleans. During a visit to New Orleans, Walt Disney saw a famous attraction that stopped him in his tracks. A mechanical fortune teller. This wasn't just some basic arcade puppet. This was an automated figure that moved, interacted, and gave guests the illusion of life. Walt was fascinated by it. Because Walt didn't just see a novelty machine, he saw the future. He realized you could create characters that weren't cartoons on a screen, but physical beings in the real world. And that idea stuck with him. Years later, Walt would push his Imagineers to create lifelike moving figures for Disneyland. And eventually, that obsession turned into audio animatronics. The technology that brought to life attractions like the Enchanted Tiki Room, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and Pirates of the Caribbean. And basically every Disney ride where something blinks, talks, sings, or tries to scare you. So in a strange way, the animatronic revolution that defines Disney parks today has roots in New Orleans. New Orleans helped shape Walt's imagination in a way that went far beyond inspiration. It reminded him that places have personality, that details matter, that a land or a street or a building can feel like a character all its own. So when you stroll through New Orleans Square at Disneyland, you're not just seeing a themed land, you're seeing a love letter, a tribute to the spirit of adventure, mystery, music, and charm that Walt felt the moment he first experienced the real thing. And in a way, New Orleans gave Walt exactly what he was searching for. A world that felt timeless, a world that felt alive, and a world worth bringing to life for everyone else.